So this is an oral history interview conducted for the Witness to War Serving a Nation project at Nassau Regional High School in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. For the sake of this interview, please state your full name and community in which you now reside.
Okay, Douglas E. Mulholland, and I live in Centerville.
Okay. So, could you summarize how your childhood was?
I had a great childhood. Great mother and father, great parents, typical childhood, went on vacations here and there, and just great childhood. Played all sports growing up, youth sports, soccer, basketball, baseball, just pretty uneventful childhood, Little League and all that stuff. Yeah, no, I had a great childhood.
What was your favorite sport?
My favorite sport was always hockey. And I played basketball up till about the 9th grade, and then I started hockey in 1972. So I went to the dark side and played hockey instead of basketball, because I always loved hockey. That was always my favorite sport. Still is. Yeah.
So then, did you grow up on Cape Cod?
Yep, grew up in Orleans. I was born in Springfield. Lived there till I think I was about 4. Then we moved to Eastham. Went to kindergarten in Eastham Elementary School for a year. Then we moved to Orleans. Yep.
Okay, so what was your life like before you went to war?
Graduated from high school in 1975, and I went into the Marine Corps right out of high school. I spent my last summer having all my fun, and then in September of 75, I went into a Marine Corps boot camp. And so I was in the Marine Corps from 75 to 78, and I got out after my 3 years, and just worked, had a bunch of different jobs actually. And then at right around 89, 90, kind of missed the military a little bit. Didn't want to go back in full time, but kind of missed the camaraderie and stuff, and being in the Marine Corps a little bit. So what I did, I went back in. I was able to get back in, and I went into the reserves. And so I was in the reserves, a few months, and then Desert Storm. What was Desert Shield before it became Desert Storm. That started, and then our unit got activated the week before Thanksgiving of that would have been 1990. So I just worked like everybody else, got up and went to work every day, and then, like I said, went into the reserves, and our unit got activated, and so I got deployed.
What's the reserves?
You go, you do one, you keep your civilian job. You're not a full-time military. Once a month you have to go on drill. You go on training someplace, have to keep your hair short. Even you can grow it long all you want, but when you go to your reserve unit for the weekend, one weekend out of the month, and then in the summertime you go away for 2 weeks in a year that you go someplace to do military stuff. But so that's really what the reserves is. And you get paid. You get paid for it, and you get some benefits, not much, but it's just kind of like staying in the military part-time. You still keep your civilian job, but then, like I said, once a month, you have to go for a weekend and drill. And for me, it was Camp Edwards, which is in Bourne, and so that's what the reserves is.
So, how did your family react to when you decided to join the service?
Boy, such a long time ago. I don't think positive. I mean, they were positive about it. They didn't have any, just positive. They were, I can't think of, I think it's probably, I was the youngest of 3 boys, so they're probably thinking, well, their baby's going off into the Marine Corps, so it's like not a baby anymore. So, but no, they were all for it. Yeah.
So, what was the first thing you did after enlisting in the military?
Well, I enlisted in June of 1975. So it was a delayed. I signed on the dotted line in June, had my physical and all that stuff, but I didn't go into boot camp until September. So I still, by contract, I was in, technically, but I didn't have to report to boot camp until September of 75. So I just worked my regular job in the summer of 75.
What was boot camp like?
Boot camp was it was a trip. It's pretty crazy. Getting yelled at all the time and screamed at, and you do a lot of running. You never walk. You never walk anywhere. But it's hectic. They make it very chaotic. You know, because they want you to be able to get you ready for if in fact you ever went into a war or something like that. It's very hectic, very crazy.
Yeah.
Very crazy, hectic environment. So that's the way training is for 3 months. You just run. Everything is just hectic, yelling, this, that, and training. And but it's a challenge. It's a physical challenge, but it's just as much of a mental challenge to try to be able to just work through all that stuff. And of course, first time away from home.
Yeah.
So you have that to factor in too. So, but you just have to, you know, your mom and dad aren't next to you anymore to figure out your problems. You kind of have to do it on your own now, you know. So, but you figure it out.
So where did you have to go for boot camp?
Parris Island, South Carolina, and it was that was great. I mean, I'm glad I did. It wasn't a lot of fun, but you know, a lot of funny things happen. Things that weren't funny then, they're funny now. But yeah, I went in September. I went in September on purpose at that time of year because it was kind of getting into the cool season as far as going into the fall.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to go there in the summer because it's hotter than. So I said, well, I'm just going to wait till the summer's over and then go in the fall.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So why did you decide to join?
I decided to join the Marines. A couple different reasons. I had a cousin of mine who was a Marine who was killed in Vietnam. So that was one of the reasons. And his father, who was my uncle, he spent 25 years in the Marine Corps. Retired as Sergeant Major, and remember we were vacationing to California to see my uncle when I was a junior in high school. And I remember going into his office and looking up all the stuff on his wall, you know, his Marine Corps stuff. And as soon as I saw that, I said, I'm joining the Marines. I'm going in. It was just one of those things that really, you know, I knew right then and there that's what I wanted to do. Yeah.
So, what branch of service did you join, and why did you choose that branch?
The Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Like I just said,
Yeah.
just what I just said. You know, I had a cousin who was killed in Vietnam who was a Marine, and then you know, with my uncle, and I saw all this stuff, and I said, no, definitely going into the Marines.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, do you recall your first days in service?
Oh yeah, the first days in boot camp. Yeah, it's crazy. It's just crazy. Like I was saying to you earlier, it's nuts. It's just. Oh, it's nuts, but you never forget them. I mean, I can still see that. That was 41 years ago. But I can still remember. It's just hectic. You don't get any sleep, and you just don't know what to expect. You know, the fear of the unknown. It's like, well, what's going to happen next? But you know, the thing is, there's about 70 of us in a platoon. So it's not like I'm the only one going through it. I mean, we're all going through it. So it's not like just me. You know, we're all kind of like in it together. You know, we are in it together. So yeah, those first few days of boot camp were pretty crazy, pretty hectic. Ugh. Yeah.
So, how were you feeling during your first days in service?
Missing home. Yeah, miss home because. You know, it's nuts, like I said, and it's yeah, just missing home for the first time, being away, and so you kind of grow up in a hurry, if you know what I mean. You know, it's like, but yeah, missing home is the number one thing, and you can't leave. It's like, well, I'm going to go home for the weekend. I'll be back. You know, you're there. It's not like it's like if you went to college and you were feeling homesick. You know, after 3 weeks in college, you know, you can come home for the weekend. Yeah. You know, but. Can't do that when you're in the military. You're there, at least for boot camp, and then once you graduate from boot camp and then go into the regular Marine Corps, you know, then you can. It's like a job after that. You can go home every day. Yeah. But in boot camp, no, you can't go home. Just stick it out. Yeah.
So, do you remember your instructors at boot camp?
Oh, I sure do. Staff Sergeant Anderson, Staff Sergeant Norton, and Staff Sergeant Daly.
What were they like?
Well, Staff Sergeant Anderson he was a senior drill instructor, and the other two are his assistants. All three of them were staff sergeants, and they were all Vietnam vets, Vietnam infantry. They all were. But Staff Sergeant Anderson was a senior drill instructor, and he was not a big guy. He was maybe 5'9", 155 pounds, but he had this stare. He had this look. You think like you get a stare from your mother or father, well, like when when they're mad at you, it's nothing compared to the stare that the drill instructors are looking at you. It's like, oh boy. So, but I can still see their faces. Yeah, you never forget them. Yeah.
So, what did you do to get through it? Like the camp?
Boy, just stay out of trouble. Do what I was told. Don't try to do something you're not supposed to, because they're going to catch you. But not everybody's like that. People think they can get away with stuff. There's. I just did what I was. Probably the best thing is just did what I was told. Just really, and just that's the big thing. If you don't do what you're told, they're going to get on you, and you don't want that. Yeah, you can make life real simple for yourself. Just do what you're told, and you'll be fine. Yeah, but it's easier said than done for some guys.
Yeah. Some
guys just can't help themselves. They gotta like maybe steal a piece of food out of the chow hall when you leave after chow. Maybe, but don't. You can try it, but if you get caught, it's not good. So just doing what you're told probably is the best thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So which war did you serve in?
Desert Storm. I went in 75. It was just the end of Vietnam, so I just missed that. So, and from 75 to 78, I was just regular in the Marine Corps, full time. There was no war then, so it was just like I said, just after Vietnam. So I hadn't served in anything. It was just my regular job in the Marine Corps, and then. But of course, like I said, I went into the reserves, and then lo and behold, we got deployed to go to Desert Storm. So we weren't there long. I mean, it didn't last very long. We were there. We got deployed right just before Thanksgiving, and we shipped out. We went to Camp Lejeune for a month, 2nd Marine Division down in North Carolina. We trained there almost a month, and then we flew over to the Middle East the day after Christmas of 1990. Yeah, yeah.
So then, do you remember arriving, and what was it like?
It was in the middle of nowhere, and it was a long plane ride from South Carolina to the Middle East. I don't know. I want to say it was like a 15-hour plane ride, I think, and we touched down once or twice to refuel. I think we touched down in Brussels, refueled, but we flew all night. So we landed in the Middle East somewhere. We were in Saudi Arabia, I knew that, but just in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the desert. I couldn't take you to the place today. Just all sand. Yeah.
So, what was your job assignments that you're doing?
Over in Desert Storm?
Yeah.
You kind of do everything. I was in headquarters platoon, and myself and another sergeant, we were how to try to describe. We were kind of like the legal NCOs of the unit. So if anybody misbehaved and they got brought up on charges, for whatever reason, we kind of worked in the legal field in there. And then, but when you get into a situation like that, even though that's your specialty per se, you do everything.
Yeah.
Whatever they tell you to do. It's not like you're back in the States and you're doing your regular job every day. That's what you would do. But when you're in a situation like that, you do everything. Yeah.
So, did you see combat while you were there?
Indirectly, I did. I did not directly. I did not. Our unit got fractured. We got split up. So I guess fortunately, in some ways, I wasn't. Half the unit went forward into Kuwait, and and I was back at the base camp. The other half of the unit was back in base camp. So I did get into Kuwait about a few days after the ground war, a couple days after the ground war was over. And it didn't, I mean, it wasn't much of a thing. It didn't last all that long.
Yeah.
But I was in Kuwait a couple days after the ground war ended, and so I saw things. I saw the aftermath of it all, which was quite a sight. I mean, it's amazing, you know. It's so, and I got some unbelievable pictures, you know. And we went through the burning oil fields, and through that was an experience. So directly, no, indirectly, we went in for a couple days afterwards. Yeah.
So, what are some of your most memorable experiences
over there?
Yeah.
Just seeing what war is, you know.
Yeah.
See, it's like when you're there and you see it, you're thinking it's like, well, you know, they're not sitting down watching the nightly news anymore. You know, it's not like you're seeing it on TV. You're seeing it for real. So that's a big impression. And plus, just being with your fellow Marines. I mean, the camaraderie is incredible. Everybody watches out for each other. The guy to your left, guy to your right. Everybody takes care of each other. But I would say the biggest impact is just seeing what war is. Yeah.
So, how many years in all did you serve in the military? 3
years active duty from 75 to 78. And then, let's see, so we got activated, like I said, November of 90. So, and that was November, 5 months. So, active duty all together, about 3 years and 6 months.
Yeah. So, what's your happiest memory from like being in the military?
Coming home.
Yeah.
Coming home. That was the best. When we found out that we were going home, that was like, that was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Coming home was but like I said, you make a lot of lasting friends. Friends that when I was in regular Marine Corps from 75 to 78, I'm still in touch with friends. We get together once a year, play golf. We have reunions.
Yeah.
I mean, these are guys that we were just 18, 19 years old back then, and I'm going to be 60 in April, so it's a long time. But we all have kept. There was a group of us. When I get to my first duty station after boot camp in 75, I went to school for about a month at Parris Island. Then after school, I went to my duty station for about the last 2 years, 9 months of my enlistment. I was stationed at the NSA, the National Security Agency, and there was a group of maybe 6 of us that got there at the same time.
Yeah. And
we were all PFCs, you know, low rank, and we were all like 18, 19 years old. So we all kind of hung out together, you know, because of that. And it's like if you were to go to college and you're a college freshman, you know, your roommate or guys on your floor, you kind of hang out together because you all knew. Mm-hmm. So you all have something in common in that respect. So it was the same with us. And I mean, it's the same kind of thing. There's a group of us that got to the duty station together at the NSA. And so, you know, we all just hung out together, played ball together, went out at night together. And all of us are still fast friends to these, you know, we've been to each other's weddings all those years later. So the friends that I've made is a big thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you stay in touch with your family when you were deployed?
Letters. It's really before computers, before iPads, before iPhones, you know. Yeah. And just writing. And I mean, there was nothing. Although there was at the base camp, there were phones that we could use to call home. So I think maybe 2 or 3 times I was able to call home over the 5 months that we were gone. Yeah. But mostly letter writing, mm-hmm. And they couldn't call you obviously, but letter writing but there was nothing like getting a letter from home that made your day. When you got a letter from home, if you didn't get a letter from home when they had mail call, yeah, you could, you know, kind of, it's a bad day, just like always, like, because you're a long ways from home,
Yeah.
you know, and you don't know when you're coming back.
Mhm.
And so, but the best thing is when you get a letter from home, or like my mom always used to send me cookies and care pack and stuff like that. That was good. And you always shared them with the guys too. I mean, you wouldn't just sit there, eat your cookies or eat all this food and stuff and not share them with your buddies, you know.
Yeah.
And everybody did. So.
So what was the food like?
Oh, the MREs, bad. I think the best MREs stands for Meals Ready to Eat. That's the acronym, Meals Ready to Eat. And they, the best ones were probably the spaghetti and meatballs. They weren't bad. Spaghetti and meatballs were good. Have you ever seen what an MRE pack looks like?
No.
It's a pack about the size of your paper, and it's just all processed. It's in an envelope, and you just cut it, and you just pour it out, or you eat out of it with a fork. And the spaghetti and meatballs wasn't bad, but by and large, there were many times where it's just, and in there you'd have like a cookie, you might have some fruit, you might have, it's dried fruit, you'd have to put it in a bowl of water for it to, it's like a dried sponge, and then letting it, and you stick it in water before, you know. But the worst thing was the pork patty. It was about that big, and it's dry, and you had to put it in your canteen, and it's like a sponge, and it was no. So many times, if you were late to the party, so to speak, about getting your meals and stuff, sometimes you might get left over with the stroganoff or the whatever it was. Swedish meatballs weren't bad either. Spaghetti meatballs were good, but everything else was, so other than that, you just open it, throw it away, and just eat the crackers and the cookie, and that might be your meal.
So did you have plenty of supplies while you were there?
Yeah, we did. We had everything we needed, you know, and you know, at night it got really cold there, and so we had plenty of things to keep us warm at night, all sorts of different equipment that the Marine Corps gives you. But yeah, we had we had everything we needed. Yeah. So I mean, it wasn't like you could go to the corner store anywhere. You know, it's like you're in the middle of the desert, so you just kind of make do with what you got. So it's amazing how creative you can be with things when you're out there. It's how creative you can be to get by. But no, I'd say we had enough supplies. Sure. Yeah.
So, was there anything like special you do for good luck?
Special for good luck? No, I can't say that I did anything special for good luck. At least I didn't. No, I can't say there was anything for good luck. Probably the number one thing we had, getting off the track, getting off your question a little bit, but that would put you maybe in a good mood or lift you up would be, you had your music. Back then, they were called, what were they called? I mean, now you have iPhones and stuff like that. What did they call those things? A Walkman. Did you ever hear what a Walkman is?
No.
That's how long ago it was. It's like this thing about about that tall, and it opens up. It's like a tape recorder. It runs by batteries. You can put a tape in. You can put like an old cassette tape in of music. Mm-hmm. So we had you had headphones, and music would get you by. Listening to your favorite music and stuff would get you by. But I didn't have any specific good luck thing. No, just no.
So was music like your biggest thing of entertainment?
Yeah, that was it. Or just watching other people,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, when you had when you had downtime, everybody had their Walkman on, just listening to music. It's just like probably with you, you know. It's just it just you forget everything else that's going on, and you can, if you have some downtime or when you go to bed at night, just listen to music. If you go to bed, sometimes you didn't go to bed. All depends, yeah.
So were you close with all the soldiers there?
Like in a unit, the unit is close. You know what I mean. But it's like it's like I would equate it like you have a lot of friends at school, but there's probably there might be just 5 that you're really close friends with. You may have a lot of other friends, people that you're friendly with,
Yeah.
but you have like a core group of 4 or 5 guys that are your real close friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in the military, your unit is, you're really tight unit, and everybody, like I said, everybody watches out for each other. But you definitely do, there are guys that have, I did have a handful of really close friends, but we're always together all the time, So sometimes you get on each other's nerves because there's nowhere to go. We're always together. And so every once in a while, things can, guys just get on each other's nerves occasionally. You're away from home. There's a lot of stress. Guys can kind of lose their temper a little bit sometimes, but it's just because of the situation. But then people cool down, and it's not a big deal. But yeah, you have a core group of friends that and there's one guy in particular that I'm still in touch with. That we're still really good friends, and he and I we were in each other's weddings. So yeah.
So, do you recall like the day service ended and what it was like?
Yeah, well, when I got out and when I was in from 75 to 78 in the regular Marine Corps, the day I got out, I was going home. Yeah, it was nice to get out, and then you're going to miss your friends. I left a lot of my friends, but again, we stayed in touch. And great memories at where I was at the NSA. There was only about 290 Marines there. It wasn't that many. There weren't that many Marines there, so we were kind of a close unit. But and then after Desert Storm, when we were coming home, we flew back to Camp Lejeune from the Middle East. We were there for maybe about a week to 10 days, and then they bussed us home here. So that day coming home on the bus, coming home was awesome. Yeah, it was a good day. That was a real good day. Yeah.
Did you go back to school like after the military?
I went to school after I got out of the military in '78. I took a few months off. I worked, but I just kind of figure out what I want to do. But I went actually went to broadcasting school after I got out of the Marine Corps in Boston. Yeah.
So.
And I did use the GI Bill for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, the GI Bill, and anybody who ever goes in the service, because when you're in the military, if you're trying to kind of figure out maybe what some people want to stay in, some people don't, which is fine. But if you ever go in, I highly recommend going to school while you're there. Let the government pay for your tuition, And I know one of my best friends, while we were stationed together at the NSA, he went to night school and became an accountant, and he's an accountant today in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
So he took accounting classes, and obviously it served him well because almost 40 years later he's an accountant. So yeah, so I would recommend that to people going to school while you're in. Let the military pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So in general, how has being a soldier affected your life?
Every day. Yeah, every day. I think you use, maybe not consciously, you think about it, but it's kind of like who you are. Even if you're only in for 3 years, it doesn't matter. Part of you will always be part military. There's always a little bit of, it never leaves you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some people, but on the other hand, some people could care less. They're out. I want nothing to do with it. Thank God I'm out. And they could care less. But others, more often than not, they take, for the rest of their life, they'll apply some things that they learned in the military and use it every day. After a while, subconsciously, you're not thinking of it. You just do. You are who you are just because of your time in the service.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably discipline is one of the other things. Just the discipline that you learn in the military. Not all the time, but you try most of the time. Yeah. But, yeah.
So what did you go on to do as a career after the military?
When I got out, the first time when I got out in '78, I went to school.
Yeah.
And dabbled in a little bit of broadcasting for a couple of years, and then I got out of that and worked for the family business for a while, and then I started working for Terminix, which is who I work for today, and I've been with them now for 27 years. So.
Mm-hmm. So are you in any veterans organizations?
No, actually, that's not true. I'm in the I'm a member of the VFW, and that's it. Yeah, yeah.
How did your service and experiences? Oh, well, I already asked that question. So, is there anything else you'd like to add that we have not covered yet?
No, I can't. I think you covered it all.
Yeah.
Those are good questions. Those are good questions. Yeah, I can't. You know, in all, it's you know, the military isn't for everybody, but I mean, not knowing your grandfather, your mom's dad, I'm sure you know, some of that military, it never leaves you. You know, and there's a camaraderie even though you're out. There's a camaraderie that you have. Even you can see somebody on the street when you're old and gray, and they may see your Army or your Marine Corps, your Navy, your Coast Guard sticker, Air Force sticker on, and guy could pull up next to you and say, "Hey, I was in 30 years ago, blah 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 blah. Where were you stationed?" That type of thing. So you don't know that person from a hole in the wall, but you have that common bond, if you know what I mean. Even though I don't know who it is, you know. So, and he could say, "Oh, well, you know, I had a buddy of mine that was stationed there," and so you start talking. So, it's just kind of like a family. Just the military in general is kind of like a big family. It really is. Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's it.
All right.
Thank you.
That was painless, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You didn't lose any blood over that. Okay. All right.